Today we are starting another brand new series on the channel where we go through each Pokemon series and count down the top 10 episodes, starting with the original series today and so on. This is all to celebrate the end of our boy Ash Ketchum and talk about some of the best episodes we've got on over the years. I'm doing another series to celebrate as well where I'm ranking every companion's Pokemon, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already, and that will continue as usual. Also, if you want to see the top 10 advanced generation episodes, then let's get this video to 100 likes and I'll release that straight away. But let's get into the top 10 episodes of the original series and I hope you enjoy. So kicking off this very tough list to piece together, we have episode 232, Just Waiting on a Friend. Now this is one that has always been my favourite filler episode. This episode doesn't move forward the plot in any way or have any development, but it's just a fantastic story about this woman who lives all alone in this house. She lures Brock in because, well, he's Brock, and the twist hits you when you realise she was this Ninetales who was abandoned for so many years. It's a sad episode and they were really cooking something special up when writing this one, so I think it deserved to be on the list. Next up we have one of the most famous episodes being episode 14, Electric Shock Showdown. Although I do think this episode has dropped down for me over the years just because of how many times it's been referenced and how much praise it's got, but I can't deny that it is a fantastic way to really begin Pikachu's journey of overcoming these bigger, stronger Pokemon. It's looked down upon as this baby who can't fight. It comes up against a Raichu, its evolved form, and it was really brutal watching it lose. And the decision that Ash has to make so early on in his journey really set these two up as partners for the rest of the series. This episode had it all: sad moments, heartwarming moments, and hype moments. It will always be a classic. Our first entry from the Orange Islands is episode 99, the Mandarin Island Mismatch. This episode was huge for Ash's development. He was on a winning streak, he was getting a little too cocky, wasn't really treating his battles with the respect that he should have, and then enter the Elite Four member Lorelei, who comes in and just destroys him, showing him how much he actually has left to learn and grow. It's similar to the episode from the Advanced Generation where Ash meets up with Drake. I think they got Lorelei's character so perfect. They portrayed her as this cool, calm battler who has a lot of life lessons to teach, and I think this was one of the first real big wake-up calls for Ash that put him in the right direction. It helped him go on to win the Orange League. Next up we have the very first episode of Pokemon I Choose You. This is an episode that I can just watch and never get bored of. It is the start of what becomes one of the greatest journeys of all time, the start of Ash and Pikachu's incredible bond, and it helps that it's actually a great episode. It has iconic scenes all throughout, and the ending with Pikachu jumping over Ash's shoulder to attack the Spearows is even now one of the best scenes in this series. It's just a really good way to kick off the series and get you involved, and as the years go on you look back at this one with a lot of joy, so it had to make the list. At number 6 we are back in Johto for episode 237, As Cold as Price. And no, this is not the official gym battle between Ash and Price, this is the episode just before. This one is another tearjerker and very underrated in my opinion. I don't see a lot of people talk about how the anime gave Price this unique backstory and how well he was portrayed. He starts out as this really grumpy old man who just hates everyone. He hates that Ash is so happy-go-lucky and treats his Pokemon as friends. But then we slowly learn why. We learn that he had a Piloswine who he thinks abandoned him years ago, a partner he was so close with, but then we learn the truth that it was literally gathering plants to heal Price's wounds. We all cried, but then Price finds it years later and manages to restore it from being frozen. They are reunited and this was a happy ending that we needed. It set up Ash and Price's battle in the next episode perfectly, but this backstory for him was just incredible. So here's a few honourable mentions since it was actually really damn hard to put 10 episodes together. We have episode 11, Charmander the Stray Pokemon. We all know it, we all love it. Ash meets Charmander, overcomes its former scumbag of a trainer Damien. We have episode 48, Holy Matrimony. Since there's no Team Rocket stuff on this list, I thought this was a perfect inclusion. We find out that James is actually rich, but he just doesn't want to go ahead with his arranged marriage, so that's why he joined Team Rocket. This episode honestly has some of the funniest stuff in Pokemon. James making out like him and Growly died in the snow, and then Meowth and Jessie thinking they were actually hidden in them black get-ups. Both scenes are top tier comedy. There is just so many more that I could add. Episode 75, Round 1 Begin, Ash sweeping Mandy and evolving his Krabby. Episode 70, Go West Young Meowth, Meowth's heartbreaking backstory with Meowsy, and then finally I'm going to throw in episode 112, Enter the Dragonite. I'm a bit annoyed I couldn't get this one on the list. It's a huge moment for Ash as he wins the Orange League and he wins his first ever 6-on-6. There's plenty more I wanted to include, but we'd be here all day, so let's get back to the list. Moving swiftly on to the Johto League, we have the climax of Ash versus Gary. Yes, I did not think it would come in just yet, but here we are. This battle was amazing. I loved the final showdown with Charizard and Blastoise. However, the pacing holds this back from being a real top tier episode and battle. Battles like Ash vs Paul, Ash vs Leon and Ash vs Kukui are always going to be above this one because it rushes through a lot of massive moments. And even in this episode we see the start of Ash vs Harrison's battle right at the end. But the fact that I've even got to explain the negatives shows just how good this battle is. This is Ash and Gary's rivalry wrapped up, everything built up in one last showdown, and for the time that it was made I think it still holds up today as a really good watch. Gary is just such a well written character. He pushes Ash to his limits here in this tournament and Ash finally overcomes him. It will always be iconic. From one of the best battles in the original series to another, we have Ash's final Johto badge, episode 254, Better 8 Than Never. And I think it was only fitting that Ash's final original series gym battle was also his best. We had a whole 5-part Blackthorn arc where it set up Claire really well, gave us some massive character development and even brought back Ash's Charizard. And it was all wrapped up with this damn near perfect gym battle. It was so cool to see Ash's Charizard come back for this badge and take down Claire's Dragonette. And it wasn't even just Charizard we saw come back because Snorlax also returned for some well needed battle action. This episode had it all, a fantastic battle, amazing returns and Ash finally winning his final badge. Top 3 time, and in third we have episode 65, Showdown at the Poke Corral. I can't really explain how much I actually love this episode. It was the first real insight into the life of Professor Oak, how he keeps his Pokemon that Ash and Gary are sending him, how he takes care of them and his daily routines. Also, it was kinda a well needed catch up on both trainers' progression, learning how many different Pokemon they both have, a lot more insight in how the lab actually works and how it's run. It gives Ash and Gary a lot more interactions rather than previously where Gary would just call him a loser and then ride off with his car full of girls. This gave more life to Gary as a character, gave him more characteristics and developed their rivalry even more. Overall, this is just a fantastic world and character building episode, and it starts this trend of having these lab episodes at the end of every region. So these top 2 picks were the hardest. I really couldn't decide between them, but in number 2 we have episode 273, Gotta Catch You Later. Not quite the final episode of the series, but it might as well be the finale. It was such a heartfelt farewell to Brock and Misty, mainly Misty because Brock returns like 5 episodes later. Misty's song was emotional and it was an amazing send off to this trio. This original trio mean so much to everyone who watched this series growing up. They are iconic, they had such amazing chemistry, and although they might not have had the best development over the course of the original series, no one can deny how well they gelled and how much impact they had on the series going forward. Misty gets her brand new bike after Ash destroyed her first one, and she sets off home as well as Brock, and Ash is finally all on his own for the first time since leaving Pallet Town 273 episodes ago. It's sad, but it's a fantastic episode. But in first place is episode 105, Charizard Chills. It just had to be. It's one of the best episodes of Pokemon even now. Ash learns a huge lesson on how to control his Charizard, and it also just shows how caring he is toward his Pokemon. He nurses Charizard better all night long, and eventually Charizard comes to respect him for it and starts to listen to him. Ash and Charizard have one of the best written story arcs, and this is where it finally gets going, where Charizard finally starts to obey and Ash gains one hell of a powerhouse who will go on to take down legends by Ash's side. This episode is for me the best in the original series. There are some good ones and this was a hard list to put together, but this as an episode I will always go back for because of my love of Ash's Charizard and its story. Also big up my man Tad. So that is it. That is my top 10 original series episodes. Let me know what you think. What is your favourite episode of the original series? I'd really love to know. And be sure to hit that like button. If we can get 100 likes, I'll be sure to bring out my top 10 advanced generation episodes straight away. But that is all for now. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.